Saturday morning, it's time to talk technology, and that means Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is joining us here on Power Talk Radio to kick off our Experts program. Luis, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mark. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Hey, the wonders of CES 2023, the Computer Consumer Electronics Show going on in Las Vegas. And some of the things this year, 3D laptops, wireless TV, shape-shifting screens. So what's going to be exciting down there at CES?
Every year, you have bigger and better TVs, obviously. Samsung, LG, all the usual suspects will be out there touting their new TVs. One of the interesting things that a couple of people have demoed is wireless TVs. These are TVs that basically have battery packs that last for a couple months and no wires that connect your TV to a broadband router or anything. It's all done via Wi-Fi. So you can basically put this TV anywhere in your house, mount it on the wall. It uses active suction cups, basically powered suction to stay up on a wall or even on a window, whatever you want to do. So it's pretty cool technology. I don't know how applicable it is to anything, but getting rid of wires is always one of the things that vendors want to do because they know that people just don't like all those wires when they need to connect to their devices. And so the initial wireless devices are starting to make themselves seen at CES. And so there's a couple of companies that have demoed wireless TVs, but then there's the announcement of Sony is getting into the car business with Honda. So they're coming out with a new car later this year.
So they're going to have an EV, a battery-operated car.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an electronic vehicle that is going to be called a Fila. It's going to be using Sony technology, although it's going to be built by Honda. And it's going to be, incorporate a lot of technology that Sony has developed for entertainment and communications. So it'll allow you to have ways to communicate with people outside the car using essentially LED screens, and you can do all sorts of really interesting ways to communicate with other people. But just the whole idea that Sony is getting into the EV business is interesting.
BMW's concept car will double as your buddy. So BMW has something called the iVision, and that's going to be their battery car?
That's their electronic vehicle, but rather than using Siri or Alexa or somebody else's technology to be the AI, they're developing their own. And the car is going to be basically a very sophisticated rolling computer that can not only take you places, but also be used for active inquiries. And basically you can talk to the car and the car will talk back to you. You can ask it in real time for directions and it will be able to give those to you, but also ask it questions about what you see on the street or things that if you're driving by a building and you're like, hey, vision, I don't know what they're going to call it, but what is that building? It will be able to tell you what you're going past in real time. So pretty cool technology. I don't know how applicable it is. That's why it's right now just a concept car, because concept cars, you basically develop a lot of stuff that may not ever come into production. So we'll see about how much of this comes into the next generation of BMWs.
All right. And then let's move on to smartphones. And Samsung has something called the Flex Hybrid, and it actually folds on one side. What exactly is this?
Well, folding phones have come on strong in the last couple of years, and Samsung has them and a couple of others. There's rumors that Apple is going to have a foldable iPhone coming out this year or early next year. So what Samsung has done is taken it to the next step, which is not only is it a foldable phone, but it actually can expand. So you can slide out part of the phone to make it a bigger phone and have a bigger screen. And then when you're done, you just tuck the screen back in and put it in your pocket. And it's a small form factor for storing.
Wow. And what are those going to sell for, by the way?
Well, foldable phones right now run around $1,200. So I can only imagine that this is going to be a much more expensive thing.
Okay. Speaking of expensive things, a 3D laptop. And I guess Asus is developing this along with Acer. What about this?
Well, so 3D technology has been kind of always like, it's coming. But one of the downsides has been that you need some special glasses or goggles to be able to see 3D the way the technology has been devised now. What Asus has done is they've developed a special screen, an OLED screen, that produces almost 3D-like images without any special glasses. So just looking at your screen, it feels like you're seeing a 3D image popping out from the laptop itself. So they're using a lot of new chipset technology to be able to create this kind of 3D-like rendering. And I'm really interested to see it in production to see what sort of things people can do, especially if you're a designer or a developer and you want to see something in 3D. Will this be a replacement for the traditional 3D method of having to use goggles? We'll have to wait and see if anybody else adopts the technology. technology.
Well, that is pretty interesting, wild. Hey, back to that TV that's wireless. You can put it anywhere, and you don't even have an AC cord on it because it runs on a battery, right?
Right.
So it doesn't even come with a remote control. What does it do? Just listen to your voice commands, like you yell at it, "Let me see Petticoat Junction on Me TV," and it puts it on there for you.
Yeah, or you can say, hey, I want to see the TV guide, and then it uses hand gestures. So it has a little camera that's built into it, and it can detect where your hands are, so you can essentially like press a button on the screen using hand gestures to be able to change the channel or change the volume or do anything like that. So it's replacing the remote with your voice and with this ability to detect how your hands are moving to make it even less needy for wires or anything else other than the TV itself.
That's pretty crazy. And you could say, "Let me see the football game," and it might say, "Which game do you want?"
Exactly.
Wow. AI. Smartwatches that want to know if you're okay. What are these watches that can diagnose your condition?
Well, this is just the next step in the development of these smartwatches that incorporate a lot of biometric tracking information. We now have watches that track our heart rates, sleep quality, oxygen levels. But now Citizen is taking it to a new level. They're actually developing a watch that can measure your fatigue level or your alertness level. So it can say, hey, you seem to be a little down. Are you okay? Or maybe it's time to take a rest, or maybe you shouldn't be driving. It doesn't look like you're in a good shape to be driving today. So it's an actual really interesting development in smartwatch technology that will maybe be adopted by other makers to make the watches not only monitor our biometrics, but also give us advice in terms of what we should be doing or not doing.
Last thing I want you to talk about here is the changes, the upgrades coming to your laptop brains. And looks like we have 13th generation processors heading into laptops. How's that going to change things?
Well, this is a whole brand new set of chips that are much more powerful than what we have today. So it will let computers process more faster. And so you're going to see not just faster renderings of things, but also developers that can take advantage of this additional power to make your laptop or your desktop or your mobile device much more powerful in its ability to use software and help you with day-to-day tasks that may not be able to do now. But it's pretty exciting because it's not quantum computing. That's really the next level of computing, but it's really much faster than what we have today.
Sounds interesting. Well, there's going to be a lot of really exciting stuff going on at CES, and we'll be talking about these advances as time goes on. And of course, what will happen is the things that come to CES, a lot of them become adopted by the public, and then all of a sudden they become old hat.
Exactly.
We just take them
for granted.
Yeah, we take them for granted, but that's kind of the way technology goes. So some really fascinating stuff. Louis, I want to thank you for joining us today, and we'll keep chatting about these issues because there's so much interesting that's going on there. Louis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, has been our guest, helping us kick off the Experts program for this Saturday morning. Online, they're at alvareztg.com, at alvareztg. That is the Twitter handle. And Louis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.